All I want for the holidays this year is some NBA action. This week, new customers can score 150 instantly in bonus bets just for betting $5. An instant dub just for you.
The Lakers have a tough stretch coming up. Boston on Christmas, couple road games against the Timberwolves. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on these lines to see how DraftKings thinks LeBron and them boys are going to stack up.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code Jenkins, Jenkins. New customers can get 150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on basketball. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code Jenkins. The crown is yours. Welcome to Jenkins and Jonez on the Volume Podcast Network. It is Thursday, December 21st. And as John was just reminding us, it's almost someone's birthday. Little baby Jesus.
Mr. Meek and Mild.
Oh, baby.
As always, Jenkins and Jonez, hosted by Dragonfly Jones, a.k.a. Tyler.
Hey, everybody, have a good...
The wise man himself, LeJethro Jenkins, a.k.a. John.
What's that, Bubbas?
I'm Cardi B, a.k.a. Mike.
Mother Mike.
Mother Mike.
Mother Mike.
And
Mike.
we're produced by the lovely and talented Jackson Saffron.
What's up?
All right. Couple of housekeeping items. First of all, please still go subscribe. As we said, you're going home for the holidays. People are coming home to you. Take their phone, get on the YouTube app, subscribe to youtube.com/@JenkinsandJones or on people's desktops when you're visiting, whatever. Go around your office, subscribe every computer to the YouTube, whatever you got to do. You know, let's get.
If you're buying holiday presents in a Mac store, in an Apple store, there's a lot of phones and laptops in there. Easy subscribes. Let's spam those numbers.
Our light fraud master, Jackson Saffron.
Right, I'm like, is this
break into an Apple store? According
I
to
didn't
Jackson.
say break in. I said if you're shopping, if you happen to be there.
hack into the Apple computer? That's all I'm saying.
Also, we've got a schedule change. Just as a heads up, we were not dropping an episode on Christmas. We do have a holiday mailbag on Saturday. Thank you to people who sent questions in. We'll have a tweet up asking for them. You can reply to the tweet or send an email to Jenkins and Jonez spelled out @gmail.com. And we'll get to as many of those questions as we can. They could be funny, serious, holiday related, non-holiday related. If you've heard the mailbag episodes, you know what kind of stuff we're looking for. And lastly, we've been nominated for an award. And this time, we found out about it ahead of time. Because when we previously won awards, we found out like 2 years after the fact. But we know about it ahead of time. We've been nominated for Best Comedy Sports Podcast, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
All right. And who is it from, Jackson?
The Sports Podcast Awards by the Sports Podcast Group.
All right.
So go to sportspodcastgroup.com.
Sports podcast guys.
.net.
Listen to me. I want to win the award. I've seen the other podcasts on there. I previously did not care about winning the award. I've looked into the other podcasts on there, and now I want to win the award.
Fuck those guys. Never pass on a chance to say that. You feel me?
Kind of exactly what I mean. Yeah.
I just went ahead and said it for you.
Hey, bro, it's one on there, and I'm sure he's a great dude. But it's one on there. There's a fucking typewriter with a fedora that has a press card on it, hanging on the typewriter. We gotta beat that guy, man.
We gotta punch that pot in the face. We gotta punch that pot in the face, right in the fedora. You know what I mean?
So we'll have
right in the kisser.
As he would say.
Tyler wants to give him the old what for.
A wise guy.
The link to vote will be on the Jenkins and Jonez Twitter, so go check it out. Maybe it'll be in the YouTube as well. I don't know, but go vote for us. I'd like to win the award. I don't think John and Tyler care, but I would like to win the award.
Go vote, man. 3,000 of y'all motherfuckers signed up to debate mongooses versus grizzly bears and shit. Y'all can just go ahead and click on that motherfucker too, dog.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's talk about the sports topic that's been sweeping a content-starved nation this week, which is, are black people or white people better at playing football? Is basically what the question boils down to. But Rashard Mendenhall posted a tweet in which he said that he's tired of listening to average white people talk about football and that we should line up the best white dudes in the world against the best black dudes in the world for a football game. I think a thing people are missing out on is the trophy of this game the right to be a talking head on ESPN? That's what that's what we're deciding.
That's things. I just want to know where that shit even came from, bro. Like I want to know what was the tipping point for Rashard Mendenhall to say, "That's it. I've seen enough. We need a race war." Like how did he get there?
Who was the person? You know what I'm saying? It was a particular guy. Who was that guy?
I would bet money it was Dan Orlovsky.
Dan Orlovsky knows his shit, though, man.
He does know his shit, but I feel like a Rashard Mendenhall looks at Dan Orlovsky and goes, "This is an average white guy." That's what I'm trying to think of, like who he's describing in his head as an average white guy. And as much as Dan Orlovsky knows his shit, and there's a great GQ piece about him that just recently came out, he was also not the most successful NFL player. Yeah. So there's a lot of NFL guys who could see him on TV and go, "This fucking guy gets this job. I should have this job. Rashard Mendenhall, should have this job." I don't know.
I know where the out of bounds is at the back of the end zone. Okay.
But I don't know. It's been an enjoyable week of it. It felt a little bit like a throwback Twitter moment. People were, having fun and enjoying this. And I don't know. I'm not real confident. I might ask if I could be, a water boy on the other side of the field. I don't know. I got to find a way off the sideline I'm on, guys. I don't like the.
Got to shed that whiteness. That's what.
No, I don't like our chances. You know what I mean?
I mean, let's be real. Team the Blacks is wiping. Team Whites up, and I'm not sleeping on Team Whites. Right? They will put out a really solid team, especially with the O line. They'd have some decent quarterbacks. Shit, they even got some decent wideouts. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking Cooper Kupp and Theron and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that secondary. Who the fuck? Jason Sehorn was the last white DB to start in the NFL in 2002. Like, come on, man.
They said I liked what Will Compton did when he drew his up was he had Christian McCaffrey playing both ways. He's like, well, we got the best running back in the league. He's just gonna have to play safety too.
Yeah. Fast white guys, to the front of the line. Get your ass back there. Your week's assignment is cheetah. Come on, man. Nah, bro. And cornerback, you just cannot stick cornerbacks out there. The whole adage about how, cornerbacks cover the fastest guy on the field and they do it backwards. It's perhaps the most difficult position to play, in football. So, yeah. I mean, that's where Team White would get spanked.
We do well in special teams, though.
The question was, lunch pail guys right there, stop the shit out of a punt return. But the question was, what do we do with the biracials? That was a valid question brought up. And I think there should be a draft, right? And I think, of course, black people get first pick, reparations. Black people need to get the first 17 picks on some reparation shit for real. You know what I'm saying?
You're prepared to call it even over the first pick in the football draft?
No, that's why I was going to say you might have to up that to 17 or 18. Okay. The first 17 or 18 picks go to Team Black. You know what I'm saying? So,
didn't Will say if you use nigga or not? He didn't say nigga, but if you use nigga or not, if you are comfortable saying that or not, I think that's a good idea. Are you comfortable saying the word as he called it? I mean, hey, if you feel if you're not a nigga guy, you can be on the other side. You know what I mean?
If you're not a nigga,
because on this side, you know what I mean. Come on, G.
If you're saying Bubba's, if you're saying Bubba's exclusively, you're over here with me.
Exclusively, you can say Bubba's, but exclusively, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're anti N-word. You feel me? I don't know, man.
So does Max Crosby go to Team Black then? If that's the stipulation,
we'll take him over here.
Hell of a pass rusher, man.
We'll take him over here,
It's getting real thin over here. The other question was who gets the Samoan dudes? You know what I mean? That's a legitimate question. I've seen that.
The Samoan dudes go where the Samoans want to go. Okay? I don't know if we choose anything when it comes to the Samoan dudes. We let them make that decision themselves. They be out here saying nigga, and niggas don't be saying nothing. So we keep it in a buck.
That's a
They
fact.
make that decision, brother. They make that decision, my brother. You feel me?
They make the decision, and no one has ever told no one's telling the Samoan dudes where they're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they're gonna tell you where they want to go, and you're just gonna be okay.
We ain't gonna pretend, bro. We ain't gonna pretend.
Okay. Well, what do we set the spread at? 13.5.
Shit, I think it'd be uglier than that.
What you saying, 27?
Yeah. No, I'd say 19.5. I'd say like 20 is probably the mark.
Free touchdown game. Skunk. Yeah.
At DraftKings Sportsbook, can we get an official line, please?
This
Of all the
segment, Race
reasons.
Wars, brought to you by DraftKings. This segment, Gridiron Race Wars, brought to you by DraftKings.
You might have just really did something right there.
Gridiron Race Wars.
I mean, that's basically what gambling on boxing was for the first 50 years of the sport.
Oh, yeah,
though,
yeah.
right?
I mean, that's still kind of boxing. You feel me? Like, there's always a great white hope out there.
Yeah. It's a reason fucking Mayweather always, try to time his fights around Cinco de Mayo when he was fighting Mexicans and shit, right? Like, race wars are big business, man. We discussed this before. We are very much a pro race war for the economic stimulus of sports leagues over here. That's what we were tapped in for, motherfucking, Caitlyn versus Angel Reese. We're like, let's keep it a buck,
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. You're right. Anyway, all right. Congratulations.
We're just gonna walk away from the race war now. Next
How you
time.
gonna segue out of that? I'm interested. What you got? What you got, man? Put you on the spot here.
I'm chewing on it a little bit here. Well, congratulations to, as Tyler put it, congratulations to Team the Blacks on your race war inaugural race war championship.
Blacks rule.
Oh shit! All right, let's talk about.
Niggas is children, dog. Oh man, we are children, man.
I think I actually have to. I actually don't like that segue, so I'm gonna reorganize this a little bit here. Let's talk about how crazy football coaches are. Did you guys see? He gave this quote right before we hopped on, so it's a late ad. But did you see what John Harbaugh, the coach of the Ravens, response was when he was asked at a press conference what his Christmas wish would be?
No.
They're playing the Niners on Christmas Eve, or on the evening of Christmas, on Christmas night, and the Niners looking to take the a chokehold on the 1 seed in the NFC. Ravens in the mix for the 1 seed in the AFC. So huge game. He said that his Christmas wish would be world peace and a win, but not in that order.
Well, that's honesty. I gotta respect it.
He let you know what time it was with him.
Yeah.
You feel me? I respect it too.
I do believe that he's being honest, and that is why football coaches, I would say this, there's exactly the right number of them. You know what I mean? There don't need to be more people who think that way. We have the exact right number. All right, we had some great basketball games last night. Return of Ja Morant. We also had a real throwback night in the Bay. The Warriors winning against the Celtics in overtime. Yet another the Celtics are too good to beat reverse jinx tweet by me working immediately, which I appreciated. But Steph was a turn back the clock night from Steph. It felt, Chase Center felt like the Oracle Arena. Like it was a special night. It was a great Tuesday night of basketball to get to watch. How much did you guys enjoy? It feels like we have to savor these nights when you get a night like that from the Warriors, right? And those big moments from Steph. How much do you guys enjoy kind of maybe getting the last toothpaste out of the tube here with these guys?
Yeah, it's exactly what you mentioned, like getting the last bit of toothpaste out. Like, we know that shit, the Warriors run as a competitor might be over. Steph is still a god though, and that's like the tragic story there is that you still got a guy who's one of the 5 or so guys in the league who's good enough to lead you to a championship with the right roster around him, and y'all are failing him in that regard. Or maybe it's coaching or whatever, but they got some shit to figure out. Ain't my motherfucking problem. But the point being, it's just one of those nights that makes you appreciative for the era, right? Like the era of the big 3 of the Bron, Steph, and KD. When you see Steph do some vintage Steph shit like that, So,
I mean, they haven't been good. So, like, even when Steph was playing good basketball, he's playing good basketball. They haven't had a chance to win. You feel me? But I mean, yeah, I think it's unfortunate that the players around him, aren't going to allow him to do that. But I mean, I'm at the point now where, like, I mean, I know at first we were always arguing about Steph is this, Steph is that, because we were tripping off. I'm well past that, bro. I've been to the point where I'm just enjoying Steph. You feel me? And it's dope to see him play a game that matters and him do Steph shit again. You feel me? I don't know how many chances we'll get of that because the teams have been good. I don't know what they're gonna do. We don't know what they're gonna do. They're in a pretty bad spot. The worst spot we've probably seen the Warriors be in 7, 8 years. So getting a game like that, you definitely feels like we have to, enjoy these moments.
We had a little lively chat in the group chat about Tyler's tweet in which he pointed out his feeling, which I've shared for a while. I'd say since the 2022 championship, that Steph has kind of solidified himself as the number 2 of this era after Bron, but ahead of KD. And I'm curious for the counter argument to that from John. But what's your argument for KD in the 2 spot over Steph?
As I told you, like what my point is. We talked about it in the group chat. You feel me? And I'm not saying you're wrong. I think it's really close. What I thought was interesting is 4 out of the 5 years, KD has had better seasons than Steph has since he's left. But when he left, we were saying that KD was by far a better player. The year after he left, I think 2 years after he left, he was playing against the Bucks, and the best player in the world said that KD was the best player in the world in the playoffs after a playoff game. You know what I mean? And now, he won the chip, and we won the chip, and in that singular season where he was better than KD, and now he's a much better player than KD. Like you said, it's not even close anymore. And that's what was interesting to me, where I don't truly care as much. You feel me? I love watching them both play. You feel me? I love them both as basketball players. But after the chip, you said that all of us said that agreed that KD was 7th, and that Steph, him winning that chip, he squeezed into like 9 or 10 in the top 10 of all time. And in the last couple of years, it seems like you think he's eclipsed him in a way it's not even close anymore. And that was interesting to me because the numbers don't speak to it. I will say what I do think more so than anything is that in the playoffs, which Steph has been in more playoffs since, he has looked. He was the second best player with the Suns in that playoff series, and also when he played against the Celtics, he didn't look, like KD. You know what I mean? And we questioned that. And so I think the perception of who KD has changed more because of those playoff series. And I think Steph, when he's made the playoffs, has been the most dominant player. And he had like the 50 ball to win the game 7, even though that was the first series of the other playoffs. And he's had the chip, So there's certain things about the perception of Steph has stayed the same. And I think the perception of KD has changed in that time period, even though the numbers don't really speak to it. But I think perception matters when players are this close. And how and the quality of play,
Yeah, I mean these 3 have been like I don't think that those 3 are the best player in the world. We're not in that era anymore, but they're still extremely good, right?
I also think they're still kind of the faces of the league.
Yeah.
I would say as great as Giannis is, as great as Jokic is. We were joking about it in terms of whose name moves units on content shit. Like it's still Bron, Steph, and KD's league, in my opinion.
You can look at the shoe units. Who's selling what? You know what I'm saying? I doubt that, Joker's shoes aren't even selling as much as KD's. Yeah. Definitely not Bron's and Steph's. So yeah, but anyway.
But yeah, and I think that, we're at the point where we've just kind of got to look at, accomplishments and how these guys carry their teams respectively, right? And, you've got that 2022 championship for sure moved the needle for Steph. I mean, we can just go back to last postseason. That game 7 versus the Kings. That's one of his best playoff performances ever of all time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right. So Steph is still killing shit, and KD is still really, really fucking good. I don't think it's a slight at all to say you're just the 3rd best player of your era behind Bron and Steph, right? Like that's fucking incredible company to be on the same tier with, but just in 3rd place with, right? So yeah, I think that like I said, the needle moved for Steph in 2022, and like I just feel like Steph has surpassed KD since.
I
In
think
2022, okay, you say Needle moved enough to where it was close, and now in the last 2 years, you think he surpassed him. Okay.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a difference between like who you think is the best versus how you feel players have to be assessed and ranked, in my opinion. Because I'll take KD, like personally. I mean, in terms of what I like, what I think, I mean, he's 7 foot tall. Like he has gifts that Steph Curry has no ability to get. In terms of evaluating their careers, I think that to me is where it's like I don't really think there's much of an argument at this point. I wouldn't disagree with John saying he thinks KD's the greatest scorer in the history of the game. Mm-hmm. I just think if you have one guy who's been in a spot and been successful in that spot before and after KD was there, like I think that's the stuff, as well as we talked about that avalanche of statistics around the three ball that Steph is putting up, right? Like he's already 600 whatever past everyone in career three-pointers made. His longest three-point streak is more than 2 times as far as the next closest player. So there's stuff like that I think just piles up over the years, even in a way that the performances in the playoffs and stuff, it's almost separate from that.
I think the thing is, like in career, that's the argument for Jordan. Where like I think Jordan had a better career than LeBron, even though LeBron's a better basketball player. You feel me? Mm-hmm. And so like with Steph, I think Steph has a better career than KD. Even if I'm picking a player, I pick KD on my team. You know what I mean? So like I think that, so I'm staying consistent in how I think. But what was interesting for me was the things y'all were talking about were inconsistent with the arguments you make for LeBron and Jordan. And I'm not saying that's wrong. You know what I mean? Like I said, they're so close. You can decide how you feel or what makes you feel that way, you know, and it doesn't have to be consistent with anything else. But my way of looking is I'm looking like when you look at the numbers, the way we think about KD, the numbers haven't shown it. You feel me? We talk about him, you know, Booker being the best player in that series in the playoffs with the Suns. KD still averaged 29, 50% from the field. Like, it's not like he's gotten any worse. You know, like I think in the playoffs, when we talk about he's not been the same playoff player, he averaged 26 against the Celtics, which he struggled. But other 3 series, he averaged 32 and 29, and he had 34 and 29, and he averaged 32 the last year with the Warriors. And for me, it's like this: like since he's left, like it's not been KD, it's been the shit that surrounded him has been a fucking mess. You know what I mean? I don't think Steph goes in a KD situation and makes it any better. You know what I mean? I think the way Booker was playing last year, he was better than Steph was, and even though Steph had that 50 ball in the playoffs. Booker was maybe the best player in the playoffs during that while they were still playing. You feel me? So I think it's circumstantial why our perception has changed, but perception matters. And I think that's where it's at. Because when we look at the numbers, when we look at what KD's done, KD's been just as good or even better in the playoffs. And when the inputs were the same at the Warriors, the output was very different from KD and Steph. KD was by far the better player. You feel me? At those when everything was the same, you know what I mean? But also, like you talked about, you said those wins those numbers have not been translated into wins. And you know, there's certain things that Steph can do as far as facilitating, but also like we talked about when he was playing the Celtics, he had Steve Nash as a coach. Like, nigga, we clown Steve Nash. And also the same year, one of the points was that he had Kyrie as a teammate. Niggas was clowning Kyrie in the same year that Wiggins won was competing for finals MVP until Steph went fucking nuclear. You know what I mean? So saying that, like, you know, he had Kyrie and then this nigga brought Wiggins to the finals, like that's talking out of both ends. You know what I'm saying? Because we're saying Kyrie is not the same Kyrie, or people are questioning his whole legacy after how he performed in the playoffs. And they're talking about how Wiggins really stepped up and was an all-star caliber player. And we're just saying it's just Wiggins, like Wiggins was an all-star and the average 25 wasn't vying for the finals MVP the first 3 games of that finals series. So that's where I'm at with it. You know what I mean? I just think it's interesting how and why perception changes and how it's changed so much. And I don't know if anybody's wrong. This is all subjective, but that's where I'm coming from with it. Because when you break it down, I understand why KD has been KD and hasn't won. And I understand why Steph has won. And I don't think it had anything to do with KD being worse than Steph. Right. You know what I mean? Rather being I think it's more circumstantial. So, but all that matters, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And I think that's the thing when you're evaluating careers. Like I know the three of us have talked about that, but like seeing people go from the high school level to college to the pros, you realize how much of that shit is chance. Like
Right.
what if KD gets drafted by a team that is in a big market like the Warriors that has stable ownership and a GM, and it is in
And a
that
good ass
situation.
coach, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
For
I mean,
10 years
we
straight.
talk about like my friend Mercedes Lewis has been in the NFL. He's record setting for how long he's been in the NFL as tight end. He was drafted by the Jaguars. What if he'd been drafted by the Patriots in 2006? You know what I mean? Like you don't have any control over shit like that. It just happens. But in evaluating careers, it does have to be factored in, which is just not fair, but also true.
But for me, when we've talked about the best player, if we were talking careers, I would have gave Jordan that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the careers are closer than Steph and KD.
You're saying Bron and Jordan.
Bron and Jordan. I would have said Jordan had a better career. You know what I mean? That 6 for 6 chips and the numbers he put up, you know, like it's just hard to compete with that career. But as far as a player, which I think is more subjective, I've generally been talking about top 10 from the player standpoint, where I think LeBron James is a better basketball player. As for me, when I look at KD, I think KD is a better basketball player, but I think Steph's career is much better than KD's. And so, like, that's what was interesting for me when y'all are saying he surpassed him. Yeah. Bro, Steph changed basketball. Of course, he's more important to the NBA than KD is. You can't repeat what KD's done. You can't repeat what Steph's done, but Steph's done it in a way that's changed or made people feel like they could repeat it.
Short people into thinking that they can do
he's a small guy. He only, you're not going to do what Steph's done. Steph's a fucking animal. Yeah. And also, he's like mentally, he's not normal, bro. He's a sociopath on the court. You feel me? He's a very different person, but on the court, he's a sociopath. It's hard to replicate that. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like it's like I said, it's circumstantial. The career-wise, it's better. But I thought we've always talking about them as a player, not as a career. Because I mean, there's players that may have had better careers than Bron that aren't even put in the chat, you know, like the GOAT conversation. You feel me?
I mean, I've been on the side that Steph had a better career than KD since like 2015, right? It's not like Steph's career surpassed KD's career, and then that made me say, okay, Steph's the better player. It's just, you know, since they've parted ways, you know, their bodies of work, you know, compared to each other, just the skill sets, you know, the actual basketball that I'm seeing, I just think Steph surpassed them, bro.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's cool. But you know, like I said, I think the career is much better. And I saying this since 2015. Yeah, he had makes 1,000%. I mean, 2016, that's when he was like what, unanimous MVP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bro. Like, come on, bro. You feel me? Like, I don't think career wise, as far as accolades, you know, that's really ever been a competition. We're talking about player. And so, like, that's subjective. You think he's a better player? Cool. You know, I don't know if I'm gonna pick him first in a top 10 draft, the draft of the top 10. If it comes to like having somebody on my squad, I need a fucking bucket. But as I said when we were talking, basketball is not just about buckets. You know what I mean? Even though he's the best bucket getter I've ever seen.
John's a hoop purist. He also like really like loves Kyrie Irving, right? Like John is like, I want these guys who can like
he just loves Kyrie's politics, though. It's the hoop.
Right. That's a personal thing for John, right? No, but like for real though, like John, you love guys who like can do like get anywhere they want to go and rise up and get any type. That's like a genuine like that's just like a type of player that you like.
I mean, the things I like about Kyrie are not the shit that everybody talks about with Kyrie. You know what I mean? Like when everybody's talking about the handles and all that shit. For me, it's like how he uses his body at 6'2". And he bumps people in the middle of their shuffle and gets them up under the fucking rim. And that's how he gets the shots off. Like he's so like there's a certain way. And I don't know if you can teach somebody to do the type of things that he does. It's not just, he tricks you with the razzle dazzle. Like it's a magician. It's a magic trick. Like I'm going to do all these ball handling things, but what I'm really special at is I'm going to use my body to move you, you know, and use your size against you to get you under the rim and get this fucking bucket off with either hand. You know what I mean? So that's what I love, that little shit like that. You know what I mean? That's why I love these videos where it's slowed down, where you can see the true beauty, the art of it, you know, and it's not just this keep crossing the guy off his foot. No, look at what he did with his feet. his feet on his side. You know what I'm saying? Look at what he did with his body. And I think, as a purist, Steph's game is fucking gorgeous. And I was talking about how, I don't know if this was on camera or off camera. We were talking about Steph. We prefer more players. He's not exciting inside the 3-point line, but it's beautiful inside the 3-point line, what Steph does. You know what I'm saying? With his touch around the rim, with his ability to use his body, with his timing. You know what I mean? So there's real beauty there. I think Steph's, game is equally as gorgeous as KD's. I honestly don't know who's the best player. If I had to somebody had this is a better player, I just feel like it's just interesting how what's changed, even though certain things speak, the opposite, you know what I'm saying? Or certain things like the numbers don't say what we feel or think. Because from what y'all said, I understand why y'all feel and thinking. I said in the pod and in the text, I was like, I feel it. I'm just wondering where it comes from.
Some history is subjective, some history is objective, and one objective piece of information is that Ja Morant, with 34 points, according to TNT, scored the most points in a return game after missing 25 plus straight games in the history of the league. God bless whatever producer had to scrape that shit out of the trash can and make a graphic out of it. But salute to Ja. It was a great first game back. The game winner was super fun. And I don't personally go in for all of the I kept receipts, et cetera, et cetera. No one said Ja was bad at basketball. But I'm glad that he's back. And hopefully, as Tyler said, he's gotten over his NBA YoungBoy addiction and can return to staying on the court. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, we all love Ja on this pod, right? We all know that.
Thanks.
Going back to the discussion that we had with Hanif about how you usually have to walk that line of empathy. There has to be something relatable about when you want to get behind guys who are going through stuff, and Ja doesn't get that support because you cannot relate to having an addiction to flashing guns on Instagram. That is just a very unique thing that is very easy to not do, right? So that's why the shit with Ja was just so frustrating because, bro, it's so easy to not flash guns on Instagram. But I'm glad he's back, man. And I think that the kid is going to be just fine. And for sure, he's still a hooper. But I'm going to say some shit that's probably going to sound like some nerd shit, and y'all might not even rock with it. I'm interested in seeing the list of those players and their returns after 25 plus games, because I think what a lot of people were reading when they read that was 25 games suspended and not 25 games missed. And right. I'm interested in actually seeing the list. So I think that taking a dive on that would give you a good snapshot on, how difficult it is to get back in the rhythm, right? Because we'd see players who came back from injuries, and shit like that, and we'd see their scoring outputs in their first game. So I think that would actually be an interesting stat if we can get the list.
I think suspended would be easier to get back in rhythm than injury, because you had to relearn how to use your body in particular ways. And a lot of times when you have these injuries, depending on what age you are, your body is different. You got to get used to a different body. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I think the reason why we were tripping was because he's so good at basketball. It was because we believed he was so good at basketball. Mm-hmm. And, so the receipts thing is just odd because we believed, dude, he's the future of the NBA, and he has a addiction to showing guns on camera. You know what I mean? It was just such an odd thing for somebody as good as him. So, but yeah, I mean, dude, what was interesting to me about that was I feel like one game back, game winner, dropped 32, 34. They scored 27 in the second half, took over. They came back from 20 down. And I mean, just one great performance. And to me, I feel like, yo, he's already back. Whatever the fuck what he was suspended for, we're not tripping off that anymore. You know what I mean? So that was interesting to me how so quickly the slate was wiped clean. And I don't think it shouldn't be. I mean, he did the 25 games and, now he's doing Josh shit again on the court. You know what I mean?
Okay, before we get out of here, Tyler, we've got a Hippity-Hop.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, a good
one. Yeah. This week in Hippity-Hop. All right, so, one of the things that we discussed when we, first started this segment is, there's going to be times where we look back on, certain things on certain anniversaries. And there's also going to be times when we discuss current events shit. And this is going to be one of those times where we discuss some current event shit. On this week in Hippity-Hop, on Monday, December 18th, 2023, rap legend Scarface performed on NPR's Tiny Desk. A 31-minute set that perfectly captured the essence of Scarface the rapper, Scarface the producer and instrumentalist, and Brad Jordan the person. We'll come back to the actual Tiny Desk performance in a second, but for now, let's do a bit of a deep dive into the history and impact and influence on the legend known as Scarface, a.k.a. Face Mob, a.k.a. Face, a.k.a. Brad Jordan. Born and raised in Houston, Scarface first got his start on the local rap scene under the moniker of DJ Action, serving as the DJ for Little Troy's independent label Shortstop Records. During this time, he caught the attention of Jay Prince, who had just started his own fledgling rap label, much like Little Troy, by the name of Rap-A-Lot Records. Jay Prince had recently put together a rap group that called themselves the Ghetto Boys. After the Ghetto Boys dropped their debut album, there was a falling out that caused two of the original members to split ways with the group. Jay Prince was on the prowl looking to replace these members, and DJ Action, the man later to be known as Scarface, had released a single titled Scarface that had caught Jay Prince's attention. So DJ Action ended up rebranding himself as Scarface and joining Rap-A-Lot Records and Ghetto Boys, along with new member Willie D as well. The group's first album together was titled Grip It on That Other Level, but their true breakout moment came on their next album, 1991's We Can't Be Stopped. The lead-off single from this album is one of the most iconic songs in rap history, My Mind Is Playing Tricks on Me, with 3 of the 4 verses on the song penned by a 21-year-old Scarface. Mind Playing Tricks on Me is an ode to paranoia, but a very unique type of paranoia, a paranoia that isn't necessarily rooted in fear, but is instead a byproduct of how the trauma and the weight of doing wrong can weigh so heavily on one's subconscious that it can distort that person's perception of reality. It's an ode to paranoia at its core, but on a larger scale, it's an examination of mental health, a theme that will become a staple in Scarface's music. Now, we had definitely seen rap records before that had dealt with these issues of mental health and anxiety and stress. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five's The Message comes to mind as the first groundbreaking record on this subject. You know, we've all heard the song. It contains the classic chorus, "Don't push me 'cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head." Now, My Mind Is Playing Tricks on Me added a new dimension to this conversation, whereas The Message is a song rooted in the anxiety and stress that comes when you realize you're close to reaching your breaking point. Mind Playing Tricks offers the perspective that the scariest thing about actually reaching your breaking point is you don't realize it's already happened until it's too late. It's a harrowing tale that would be somber as shit if it wasn't so damn catchy, thanks to that unforgettable guitar riff that was sampled from Isaac Hayes' Hung Up on My Baby. Mind Playing Tricks on Me was a hit, and the Ghetto Boys and their frontman Scarface had arrived. So Scarface went on to go solo that same year. He has an expansive and impressive catalog of 12 solo albums, but for the sake of brevity, we'll touch on the 2 albums widely considered to be his magnum opuses, 1994's The Diary and 2002's The Fix. Brief synopsis on The Diary. Released in 1994 with one of his most successful singles, I Seen a Man Die, this was Scarface's 3rd solo album. Frequent collaborator N.O. Joe was on the boards for a bulk of the production of this album, along with a newcomer by the name of Mike Dean. The second single will be Hand of the Dead Body, a scathing commentary on American government and critics of rap music, featuring Ice Cube and another newcomer on the chorus by the name of Devin the Dude. In 1994, which was one of the greatest years in rap history, where we saw debuts from Biggie, Nas, Outkast, and Bone Thugs, The Diary held its own as one of the best releases of that stellar year. So before we fast forward to 2002 to his other magnum opus, The Fix, let's examine the trajectory of Scarface's career during those years. So after The Diary, he dropped Untouchable in 1997, featuring his highest charting single, Smile, which featured the recently departed Tupac Shakur. The album contains classic Scarface tracks such as Mary Jane and Ode to Marijuana that will go on to be famously sampled by Ashanti's Baby, Baby, Baby. He would drop My Homies in 1998, a double disc focused on highlighting, well, his homies. And in 2000, he would release Last of a Dying Breed, which is one of my personal favorites. So this brings us to 2002's The Fix. The Fix, in my opinion, is the best album Scarface ever gave us, and one of, if not the best rap album of that decade. Coming in at a lean 13 tracks in 45 minutes, there is no filler on this album. It's nothing short of perfect. The production is carried here by Mike Dean, T-Mix of Suave House, who we mentioned on the previous episode when we discussed his production on Carter 2. Unsung legend right there. Shouts to T-Mix. The Neptunes, and another up-and-comer who was making his name known off the production he had done with Rockefeller by the name of Kanye West. So The Fix is the consummate Scarface album, in my opinion, where he is perfectly revisiting the staples of his music, which are stellar storytelling, addressing mental health, and contemplating his religious faith. I have jokingly always said that The Fix is the only Christian rap album that has ever banged, and I'm only half joking when I say that. Go listen to Someday off that track featuring Faith Evans, produced by Neptunes, or Heaven, produced by T-Mix and Kanye West. Sunday Service has never, ever sounded so good. But now on to the Tiny Desk. It opens with Scarface extending a warm welcome to us. He mentions how Backyard Band, an iconic DC go-go band, and its frontman Big G are in the building to check him out. Big G is better known as Slim Charles from The Wire to those who aren't familiar. So on the keyboard beside him is the once newcomer who first cut his teeth with Scarface on the Diary album, who has since established himself as a legend, Mike Dean. They open with My Block, the lead single from The Fix, an ode to perseverance and finding beauty in the struggle. They then transition to Mary Jane, his weed anthem, and then Smile. There's a pretty heavy moment at the end of the performance of Smile where Scarface emphasizes his line, "We say a prayer for my homie Pac." Yes, we always knew that Pac and Scarface were really homies, but there's something about Face saying it in that moment on that Tiny Desk that hammered home how they were really friends and really homies, and how they still should be homies right now while they're in their 50s instead of one of them dying at 25. It's a pretty heavy moment, but the mood is lightened a bit as we transition into one of his more fun songs, Fuck Faces, before he closes out this Tiny Desk performance with the same way he first broke out, with My Mind Is Playing Tricks on Me. It's a perfect celebration of one of rap's greatest and most important voices. So, when we were talking Doggy Style, and I mentioned like Snoop is my favorite rapper ever. Scarface might be like my second favorite rapper ever. Besides like the music just being incredible, he made music that mattered, bro. Like, I mentioned before how mental health was a recurring theme in all his music. He was one of the first rappers to really grapple with that on a consistent basis. He was someone, and the thing about his music is it was kind of grim. It was kind of dark. It wasn't, I'm going to get through this. It was, bro, I don't know if I'm ever going to, get out this depression that I'm in, that this funk that I'm in. Like, life, I don't know if life will ever really, really be all the way worth living for me. Like, it was really dark, which is why his album The Fix, which I think, like I said, I think that's the best album he ever made. It's beautiful because there's some bright moments on there from Scarface. Like, there's the song Heaven, where he's talking about how finding peace in religion has kind of granted him a new outlook on life. And it's a beautiful kind of moment where if you were investing in Scarface, you kind of thought he would never really get there to where he's seen the cup half full. And besides the fact that he, like I said, he made music that mattered. He made music about mental health. He made music that spoke to people who are going through depression and anxiety and what have you. Just as a rapper, bro, like, he just checks all the boxes as what a good rapper should be. Has one of the most incredible voices in rap history. One of the best storytellers in rap history. I personally think he is the best solo rapper ever from the South, right? I think he's the legit king of the South. And it really felt good seeing that Tiny Desk because Scarface is someone who's gone through health problems. We almost lost that man to COVID. Like, lots of us were really stressing during that moment. And it's good to see a legend like him get his flowers. And that Tiny Desk, it was so perfect because Scarface is someone who really knows how to command a room, right? Like, because I mentioned his music usually has substance. So the stories that he was giving us, into what went into that, into his thought process behind making it. And he's an instrumentalist and a producer himself. We saw him get on the guitar for Mary Jane. We saw him, banging out, the keys on Mind Playing Tricks on Me and stuff. So it was just real. I think it's like perhaps my favorite Tiny Desk performance. It's just perfect to me.
When I first saw it, I sent it to you immediately because I know how much you love Scarface. And we've shared our love for Scarface, you know what I'm saying, since Hellas, you feel me? So, just like Southern music in general. But yeah, Scarface is special. But I just don't know at that time period if I had heard rap so honest and vulnerable and, coming from the perspective he was, and so wise. Somebody right. 25 rapping, right. The lyrics he's rapping.
Mind Playing Tricks on Me, he was 21, bro, and he wrote three of those four verses.
And at 50, he's rapping these verses and he's saying them in the same way because they're to him as at 50, they have the same amount of weight. That's very abnormal. He has fuck faces where he's like, this didn't age well. You know what I mean? But we had his moments. He was still a shorty. He had those shorty moments, but like we talked about this, man. Like, there's a spiritual aspect to his music that feels like he had to grow up in church. You know, he may have grew up with his grandmother or something because he had a certain amount of wisdom that, you know, people his age, our age at that time, and you know, don't have. And he put it in his music. One thing I learned was how much of a musician he was. I didn't know that. I didn't know. I saw him playing a guitar, and like he's playing that motherfucker like a guitar player, not somebody who's playing a guitar for people so they think so they know he plays guitar. He was feeling the music in a particular way. You know what I mean? And I'm like, he's talking about the sound in that pocket. I'm like, he's talking like an artist. And I don't know I know I didn't know the artist that he was until that. And so I really love that. But like, it's like you said, it's really dope to see him get, you know, his flowers. And Scarface to me is one of those few people that I don't know what else you fuck with, but if you fuck with Scarface, I know you got a certain level of taste. You know what I mean? Because he might not have been the most popular, but to those that really fucked with rap, he was always great. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he, you know, like, but I loved it. I was watching it I mean, it's crazy. You were up at like 4:00 your time, Charlie, when I texted you or something. But I was up at like 12:30 or 1 when I saw it. I was like, I got to watch this whole thing right now. You know what I mean? I was like, you need to get your ass to bed. I'm like, I'm watching Scarfaces. You know what I mean? Tiny desk. Give me 30 more minutes. But yeah,
that's funny. All right, y'all. Go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was gonna say it was a very captivating time desk, and you know, going off John's point of like Scarface was never a dude who was giving us monster singles, right? Like he wasn't a dude who lived on the charts. Smile was his highest charting single, and that shit went as high as like number 12, I think.
And he had Tupac on that motherfucker.
Yeah, Tupac right after he passed, and that was in 97 when Pac got killed fall 96. But Face is one of those dude who he is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper, right? Like, like there's so much footage of guys like Jay-Z and fucking Nas and Jeezy going on record saying like Scarface is my favorite rapper. He's the one who made me hop out here and do it, right? And he's just someone who just means so much to so many people in a very, very unique way that not a lot of rappers mean, you know, to other people. Like DMX, who infamously hated rappers. Like he said, you know, he grew up on disco. Like he was not a rap fan. He said the only rappers he liked were Rakim and Scarface, right? Like that just shows the reach that Scarface had, man. And he's just a legend. Like I said, probably my second favorite rapper ever behind Snoop.
All right, that's all the time we got. We'll be back on Saturday with our holiday mailbag episode. Get your questions in, jenkinsandjones@gmail.com, and we'll see y'all then. Bye.
Bye.